come closer, sit with me a while. The night is long and there is no hurry now. My name is Brother Anselm, and I have kept to the old ways and the old writers for longer than I care to count. A lifetime spent among the quiet places and the dusty books and the slow hours that most of the world has long since forgotten. And if there is one thing all those years and all those old mystics have taught me, it is this. They believed that God rarely arrives with thunder. He does not, as a rule, split the sky or shake the earth or announce himself in fire. He comes quietly. He comes in moments so small and so ordinary that nearly everyone walks straight past them without ever turning their head. You see, the monks were, above all else, people who practiced attention. In a world that has always rewarded the loud and the fast and the busy, they did the opposite. They slowed down and they grew quiet. And they watched. They had a word for it in the old tradition. Watchfulness, the guarding of the heart. The patient, lifelong training of the one muscle that the modern world lets wither in nearly all of us. The ability to simply notice, to be present, to catch the quiet nearness of the holy in the very moments that everyone else is too hurried to see. And they came to believe something that I find both beautiful and a little sorrowful. They believed that the great tragedy of most human lives is not that God never draws near. It is that he draws near again and again and again, and we're always looking the other way. Too distracted, too busy, too certain that the quiet touch on the heart was nothing at all. So tonight, let me give you what the monks spent their whole lives learning. Let me show you 7 of the moments they trained themselves to watch for. 7 of the quiet ways the old ones believed the holy comes near. I will make you one honest promise before we start. I cannot, and I will not, tell you what any of these moments mean in your own life. I do not know. No honest man could. That is between you and your own heart and God. And I would never dare to stand in that place. But I can tell you faithfully what the monks believed, and perhaps, the next time one of these visits you will not be quite so quick to call it nothing. The first is the gift of tears. This one has a name in the old tradition, and the monks treasured it above almost anything a soul could receive. They called it the gift of tears. And by it they did not mean ordinary crying, not grief, not pain, not the tears of a hard day. They meant something stranger, that sudden welling up that comes unbidden, and often for no reason you can name. You are not sad exactly. You could not tell someone why you are weeping. It rises in you during a hymn or in a silence, or at some small and unexpected kindness, or while looking at something beautiful, a flood of feeling far too large for the little moment that seemed to cause it. The great teachers of the desert men like Isaac the Syrian and John of the Ladder wrote of these tears with awe. They did not see them as weakness, or as something to be swallowed down and hidden and apologized for. They saw them as the heart, for one moment, breaking softly open. A melting of the hard, dry ground of the soul. Blessed are those who mourn, the scripture says. And the monks understood that to mean something deeper than sorrow. They believed that when those tears come, something has drawn near and touched you, something larger than yourself, and gentler than you expected. They prayed for that gift by name. They wept and were not ashamed. And they would tell you, if they could, when it comes to you in the middle of your ordinary day, do not fight it and do not be embarrassed by it. Let it come. Something may be closer than you think. The second is the sudden stillness. You know the one I mean. You are in the very middle of the noise and the hurry, the traffic, the worry, the endless turning of the mind, and then, without any warning at all, everything within you goes still. The rushing simply stops. Time seems to widen and slow, and for a few seconds, or a few blessed minutes, you are simply here, completely, peacefully here, and it is enough, and you find, to your surprise, that you want for nothing at all. The monks built their entire lives around the search for that stillness. They had a name for the deep inner quiet they pursued, a silence beneath all thought, beneath all worry, where the soul comes to rest. Be still, says the old psalm, and know that I am God. And they took those words as literally as it is possible to take anything. They believed that beneath the roar of our thoughts there is a stillness, and that in that stillness God waits. They spent decades, some of them, learning to reach it on purpose. And so they believed that when that same stillness descends on you, unbidden, in a kitchen, on a train, in the middle of a working day, it is not merely your nerves unclenching for a moment. It is a taste. A small, unearned foretaste of the very peace they gave their whole lives to find. When it comes, the old ones would say, do not rush to fill it back up with noise and motion. Stay in it one moment longer than is comfortable. Let it teach you what it came to teach. The third is the still small voice. There is a story the monks loved from the ancient scriptures. A weary prophet goes up onto a mountain to seek God, and a great and violent wind comes, strong enough to tear the mountains apart. But God is not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But God is not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But God is not in the fire either. And then, after all the fury had spent itself and passed, there came a sound the old translators struggled to name, a still small voice. A whisper, a gentle silence. And there, at last, was God. The monks took that story as a rule for the whole of life. that the holy does not usually shout, it whispers. And so they trained themselves over long years to listen for the quiet nudge, the gentle inner prompting that comes from somewhere just beneath your own thoughts, the sudden, unlooked-for urge to forgive someone you had every right to resent, the prompting to go and see a friend on the very day it turns out that they most needed you, the quiet pull to stop, to turn back, to be still, to say the kind word instead of the sharp one. Not a voice in the ears, nothing so dramatic as that. A knowing in the chest, a leaning of the heart. The monks believed those promptings were not always and not entirely your own idea, and so they learned to take them seriously, to test them, and when they were good and gentle and true, to obey them. When that small voice speaks in you, the old ones would say, at the very least, pause long enough to hear what it is asking of you. It so rarely asks twice. The fourth is the waking in the night. I have spoken of this hour before, and I will not keep you long upon it here. But the monks rose on purpose in the very deep of the night, because they believed the dark and silent hours were thin, and that God is easier to hear when the whole clamoring world has finally fallen quiet. And so they believed that when you wake suddenly in the small hours, for no reason you can find, with something resting heavy on your heart, it may not be mere restlessness, or too much worry, or too little sleep. It may be an invitation, a summons to the watch. The old monks did not lie there in the dark, fighting and cursing and straining to fall back into forgetfulness. They took the waking as a call, and they answered it with stillness and with prayer. So the next time you wake in the night, they would tell you, before you reach for the bright and buzzing phone, before you curse the hour and pull the blanket over your head, pause and ask gently whether something meant for you to be awake. The fifth is the peace that comes in grief. This one is strange, and it is holy, and of all the seven it may be the one that matters most. It is that moment in the very depths of loss, beside a grave, in a suddenly empty house, in the blackest and most hopeless hour of your sorrow, when a peace you have absolutely no right to feel comes over you anyway. It does not take the pain away. Understand that. It does not explain the loss, or answer the terrible question, or make the grief any smaller, but it holds you up from underneath. It is the strange, unmistakable sensation, in the middle of unbearable sorrow, of somehow being carried, as though you have come to the end of your own strength, and found, to your astonishment, that you are still somehow being held. The monks knew this one well, for they lived their whole lives close to death, and loss, and parting. and they did not believe that peace could come from within the grieving soul itself. For the grieving soul has nothing left to give. It is emptied out and broken and done. They believed it came from outside. They called it consolation, a comfort sent, a strength lent from elsewhere in the darkest hour. The God of all comfort, the old letter calls him, who comforts us in all our affliction. When that peace finds you in your worst hour, the old ones would say, do not argue with it, and do not distrust it, because you cannot explain it. Simply let yourself be carried. That is what it came to do. The sixth is the pull toward the silence. Have you ever felt it, a sudden, quiet longing to step away from all the noise, to turn the sound off, to be alone for a while, to slip into a still room or an empty church, or out under the wide open sky, and simply be quiet, and let the roar of the day fall away? Most of us feel that pull now and then, and most of us ignore it, and reach, almost in a panic, for more noise instead. Another screen, another sound, another distraction to keep the silence safely at bay. The monks felt that same pull, but they believed it was a thing to be obeyed, not fled from. They believed the longing for silence was itself a kind of homesickness, a quiet ache planted deep in you, drawing you back toward the God who is most easily found in the stillness. You have made us for yourself, wrote one of the greatest of the old souls, and our heart is restless until it rests in you. That restlessness, that pull away from the noise and toward the quiet, the monks believed was the soul remembering where it came from, and where it is trying to return. So when that longing rises in you, the old ones would say, do not always drown it out. Once in a while, follow it. Go where it leads. See what is waiting for you in the quiet. And the seventh is the unexpected mercy. This is the one that hides in the plainest sight of all. It is the help that arrives just in time, from a direction you never once expected. The word from a stranger that lands exactly upon the wound. The door that opens at the very moment the other one has closed in your face. The kindness shown to you on the single day you were most certain you were utterly alone in the world. The unlooked-for reprieve, the bill that gets paid. The call that comes, the world will tell you quickly and confidently that these are coincidences, and perhaps some of them are. But the monks were very slow to reach for that word. They lived instead in a state of constant watchful gratitude, a lifelong habit of looking at every good thing that came to them, however small, and asking quietly, where did that come from? Every good gift, says the old letter, and every perfect gift is from above. The monks believed that mercy has a source, and that a great deal of it reaches us in disguise, dressed up as luck, or as chance, or as the ordinary goodness of other people. Precisely so, that we might take it, and use it, and never once think to turn and give thanks for it. When mercy finds you unexpectedly, the old ones would say, at the very least, do not fail to be grateful for it. For grace, they believed, does not love to go unnoticed. 7 moments, then. Let me name them once more, so you will carry them with you when you leave this quiet place tonight. The gift of tears that comes unbidden, the sudden stillness in the midst of the noise, the still small voice beneath your own thoughts, the waking in the deep of the night, the strange peace that holds you up in your grief, the pull that draws you toward the silence, and the unexpected mercy that arrives in disguise. I will not stand here and tell you what any one of them has meant in your life. I told you that at the start, and I meant it. I do not know, no honest man could ever claim to, but I will tell you, one last time, what the monks spend their whole long lives believing, that these moments are not nothing, that the holy is nearer to you, and quieter, and far more patient than we ever dare to imagine. That it does not force itself upon us, and does not shout us down, but waits and touches us gently in the small hours and the small moments, and then waits again in silence to see whether we noticed at all. Most of the world does not notice. That is the plain and sorrowful truth of it. The world is moving too fast, and the noise is turned up too loud, and there is always another thing to reach for. And so the quiet moments come, and touch us, and pass uncounted, and unthanked, and unremembered by evening. But you are not most of the world. Not tonight. Tonight you have sat with me a while, here in the quiet, and you have learned what the old ones learned to watch for. And that changes things. For you cannot notice what you have never been taught to see. But once you have been taught, you can never quite stop seeing it again. So watch for it. That is all the monks would ever ask of you. Move through your days a little more slowly than you did. Stay a moment longer in the stillness when the stillness comes. Follow the pull toward the quiet once in a while, and see where it takes you. And the next time one of these 7 moments visits you, in the middle of an ordinary and unremarkable day, do not be so quick this time to call it nothing. I am Brother Anselm. Go gently now, and go in peace. And keep watch, for the quiet things are so very often the ones that matter most, and they slip past us so easily in the noise. Rest well, and should the tears come, or the stillness, or the small voice in the dark, you will know now what the old ones would have told you. You are not as alone as you feel.